right, so we're live here in Los Angeles, and we have a special guest here. Will you present yourself? What is it you do at Turn 10?
My name is Dan Greenawalt. I'm the GM, General Manager of Forza Motorsport.
And this is a very different game than previous games, right? From Forza, or is this something similar?
Well, you know, Forza's been around for a while. Me and a small team founded this group, Turn 10, back in 2001. We launched our first game, Forza Motorsport, in 2005. And now here we are in 2023 launching Forza Motorsport again. But we think of this as kind of a rebirth. You know, it's a restart of the franchise. And our ultimate goal is to create a racing platform for people to fall in love with cars and gain skill and compete with each other for years to come.
I know there's like us where we love Forza, where we played also Horizon and Motorsport also. We're not hardcore.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, I'm just saying. But we're not really hardcore when it comes to that, right? Like I know in the previous years, I just love to race. I'm not one of those that into like building and upgrading my cars. So how's it been like now with this version, the easier way now for those that doesn't know much how to upgrade cars? Is this something that a tutorial or anything like simpler for those people that are not into that or just want to race?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, we were harking back to Forza Motorsport 1 through 4. And in there, building was a core component of the game. But in Forza Motorsport 5 through 7, we sort of we let auto upgrade take over, and we had class limits, and so you'd kind of jump straight into a car and never experience it in its stock form. And you wouldn't get that experience of it getting faster and faster and faster. And as a result, in many ways, you never got to experience getting faster and faster and faster because your skills grow with the car. So we built this entire game. It's an entirely new loop around better physics, better audio, better AI, all of these systems that help you have natural learning. So you start a car when it's, you know, in its stock form, but the nuance of the car is very pronounced because of the physics, and you're not jumping straight into a car that's kind of too much, you know, too fast. And what I've loved is I've seen people reacting just today to kind of like starting in a little bit of a slower car, but then finding its limits, and you really are finding your own limits when you find the car's limits. So I hope that people actually don't think of it as core or not core. It's really about accessibility, approachability, dexterity, and learning in a very natural way. You don't go to the classroom to learn. You don't watch a YouTube video. Experiment, try, start slow, get faster, and upgrades are part of the whole experience.
So it's funny because you mentioned how you started this back in 2001 and the first Forza was 2005, and maybe I'm dating all of us here, but I just remember this entire journey from the very first Forza game. And to Danny's point, it's not that I'm the most hardcore racing enthusiast out there, but I've always been a fan of cars and a fan of racing, and how much this franchise has taught me about cars and racing over the years. Like it's funny just thinking that racing line that now it's just a standard. This is what Forza kind of brought to the table. But the reason I bring all that up is you were talking to us earlier about how it's about getting a love for cars and the phrase built, not bought. And what does that mean as we go here into this new version of Forza Motorsport?
Yeah, you really cued in on a couple things that are core to how this team thinks about this game. Falling in love with cars through skill and competition, natural learning, things I just mentioned. But then on top of it, that the car is built, not bought. That is what's going to build that bond. You know, as you add pieces to the car, you move through it. So it's not just superficial, like how's the car look? It's really about the experience of driving that car. And I don't think people have to be great to enjoy it. And that's the difference. I think people are like, well, I'm more of a this or I'm more of a that. And I'm like, give it a try. I think you're going to find that it hooks you. Like, oh, I want to get faster because that 10/10 system.
Yeah.
And you get a little upgrade on it. You hear this car sounds a little different. It's not getting so fast that you spin out of control. It's just a little bit faster. And it's that progression of a car. And it's supernatural because that's how cars, you know, this is all physics based.
Yeah.
So the car gets faster and faster, your skill gets better. And I think that's what's going to hook people in.
So like you mentioned in a previous conversation, 500 cars roughly is what you're looking at. But this time it's not about collecting them. It's about finding that 5 or 10 that you love. And again, I'm trying to take this from the standpoint of someone that may not be a huge racing enthusiast, that may be jumping into Forza Motorsport for the very first time. The build that we played today, it was Builders Cup, I believe.
Yeah.
And I loved how it's again, kind of teaching you and slow progressing you into how these cars work. Like, as an example, previous Forzas, you can get extremely hardcore with the tuning and everything, but this one had a feature in it where it would kind of lay out, hey, here's the parts that you got. Click this button. Here's how they will apply to this car, and these are the things that it's going to improve versus what it previously was. So, from a novice standpoint, from someone that isn't huge into racing, how kind of talk more about this Builders Cup and how that's going to be an introduction into Forza Motorsport.
Yeah, our hope is to really invite people into this world. So I love this world. I think there's some people that are kind of born and bred in this sort of car world, but I want to invite people in. And Forza has had a lot of great success. Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport. Horizon's about exploration and fun and beauty, and Motorsport's about this competition and skill. So to invite them in, we have to create a path that's easy to walk, but you can actually get off the path and go find yourself in the weeds. And that's what's going to bring that love out. You're not on the same path as everybody else. So 500 cars, yes. We want to help you find the 10 that matter to you, and they could be wildly different than mine. And then even if we had the same car, it's not that they would just look different. They probably would, but it's like I tune it this way, you tune it that way. We invite people in there with the Builders Cup by saying you earn a few points. Now, you can kind of put these parts on and you see like, oh, well, you can do this and that. It's not overload of information, which traditionally it has been. Now, if you are someone that's super familiar with this game, there are other areas you can jump straight into with a car and just start power leveling it. Bam, 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 and really upgrade it so you can take it into multiplayer. That's there. That's not my expectation of how most players are going to come in. I love having this path where I can just slow roll in, because I'm not, I've done some race car driving. You get me into like a car faster than a Corvette, and it's more car than I can deal with. And I'm being generous with myself by saying even a Corvette. I got to be honest. Like a Corvette on a track is a wicked fast car. So having people really appreciate a 3 Series BMW from the 80s, like really, the way the tires roll over, and they won't know how to speak about it. They're feeling it. It's that feeling that's really important, and I think that's what builds the bond.
Anything new with multiplayer? And also, I noticed you didn't call the AI Dravatar anymore. Is it gone? The name?
It's still Dravatar.
It's still Dravatar. Okay,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah.
Anything new with multiplayer?
Yeah, there's a ton of new stuff with multiplayer. Our featured multiplayer system is an area where you can come in, you get a safety rating, you get a skill rating. We're optimizing our matches towards the safety rating. So I think historically people think about the skill rating being how you optimize it, so you've got people of the same speed. But what we actually want is people of the same continents, I guess, like the same temperament, right? That if you are someone who races very cleanly, you want to be with other really clean racers. And even if they're not as fast, or even if they're a lot faster than you, the racing will be more fun, and you're going to gain more skill. Whereas if we put you with the other racers that are the same speed as you, but they're maybe a little bit rougher, or maybe they're super clean, it creates toxicity. So by optimizing this way and having the 2 ratings, we can create much better racing. We also have the FRR, the Forza Race Regulations. This is something we introduced in 7. It's a machine learning based system. It's been massively improved for this one. It's in fact, it's got the same name, but it's basically a completely different system. And it allows us to penalize people time if they're really rough. We can ghost people, we can move them out of the game. And so we can take short-term actions if people are acting in ways that are kind of toxic, and then we can affect the safety rating and put them into the races that fit their type of racing experience.
Now, one of the things I really love about past Forza games is the community building different designs of the cars. So still we're going to see that in this game too, or no?
Yeah, the livery editor makes its return. This is something that's really key to how players express themselves in the game. And you can import liveries into the game from previous games and then apply them onto the cars you have.
So ironically enough, you kind of already answered something I wanted you to dive a little more into, was with the machine learning and the AI. So it's funny, when we were just playing, I turned it all the way up. I was like, let's see how tough this is. Completely kicked my butt. I had to scale it back, to be able to really compete in the race. So how important is that when we think kind of blurring the lines between multiplayer and single player, and you're integrating that AI of having AI truly being able to challenge us as a player as we're going through the races and doing these different cars.
There's a lot of subtlety in how this game was designed, because we took the time to have a longer concept period and a longer pre-pro period. We proved things out, and we built a lot of small subsystems to support that vision of having people fall in love with cars, skill, and competition. Chris mentioned it during the talk that we have much better physics, and that forced us to do this prediction system for 10/10ths, and that led to improvements in AI, and then we did a whole bunch of more stuff in AI to make them really fast. End result, the lowest setting in Forza Motorsport for the AI is about 6% slower than it was in previous Forza Motorsports. But the high setting is much faster, and it spreads in between the two.
Yeah.
Now, that one that's faster is no longer using any cheats, any hacks, any rubber banding, nothing. It's purely driving the car. And this came through machine learning applied towards the controller, which is actually how, just like it sounds, how the AI controls the car. It got much smarter in how to control it. We've got a couple of prediction layers that we put in for the AI that run in a table during load time. That made them faster. It was a whole bunch of little technologies that added up to massive savings in how the AI can perform. Now, we also took a different tactic towards Drivatar. So it's still machine learning based, but it's not taking the lines of your friend and applying those, and it's not taking the roughness of your friends and applying those. It's instead taking all of us, and that's what kind of helped us train that controller. So it was really taking a lot of data from a lot of Forzas and training this AI in how to drive cars faster. We also put in a line optimizer. This is not I like technology. It's not technically machine learning, but this line optimizer was actually helping us make the most mathematically accurate path for the AI, and then we had an AI that would make that even more accurate through each track. So all of these, my point is, all of these little technologies came in to make the AI much, much faster, and that gave us this really cool prediction system for creating 10/10ths as well. One last little thing, what you guys drove today, actually, the AI was still occasionally, the Drivatars would, sort of go wide and run into the player occasionally. That's something that we fixed. This build's about a month old, so we're still fixing pieces in there. And that actually has to do with AI vision. It's funny, people are like, oh, this AI is really rough. Sometimes the AI is just a little blind. And so this is our ability to help the AI see the opponent, and that was one of the bugs we fixed, and now they're not hitting as much.
Awesome. Now, we've kind of talked about this mostly from a novice or someone who isn't super hardcore, into racing enthusiast. But let's talk about it from a huge racing enthusiast standpoint. Again, when we talk about the tuning system and everything, I'm sure veterans of the series know you can just go completely nuts, as far as tuning parts and everything. But I noticed just in the little bit that we had in the build, there definitely seems to be a difference with the point system now and how you're acquiring those parts that you'll be able to tune with. Can you kind of go in a little more in depth on that?
Yeah, this was another one of those designs. Actually, before I even get in there, I think there's a little bit to be said about just turn 10, kind of how we go at problems in general. Yeah. From the very first Forza Motorsport, our goal was to democratize cars and democratize, being able to race these incredible cars that you won't even see in your life. They're so rare. Putting them to their limits, to 10/10ths, really getting them to their limits. This is something that's been the core of our game from the beginning. You've never been to that location. You've never been to that country. Go explore it. So, as a result, we've done innovations like the optimal line. We've got, rewind, things that help with approachability so anyone can play the game. We've also done a lot in accessibility, and those two things are different, approachability and accessibility. So we've tried to make the game so that anyone can play it, and then make the game have all these accessibility features so even the most marginalized community in gaming or in driving is able to experience the game. We've got a blind driving assist that does that same thing.
Which, by the way, because I got to interview him, that helped create all that, just amazing.
Yeah,
that you're able to do that.
That speaks to the way we try to design these games. Yeah. And so it's the same thing, actually, even down to that upgrade system you're mentioning. We wanted to have a system that feels like there's a path I can take, but I can stray off it whenever I want. Yeah. And it goes at a nice, natural pace so that it's approachable for me if I'm not a hardcore racer. Or I'm not really into upgrades. But if you are into upgrades and you are into hardcore racing, go take that car into free play. There's other areas you can take it into multiplayer. You can take it into rivals. You can start building those points up quickly, or just stay in practice longer. And when you're in practice, especially if you're a good racer, you're going to get those points even faster, and you can apply them to your car. So I think the goal was to have a system that feels really natural and meters itself out to players. But if you want to like skip past that and move really quickly, you can. It just takes skill. Right. So you kind of got to earn your place.
Yeah, I know there's 500 cars. Is there any new cars that wasn't available in the past? Is in this version?
Yeah. There's I don't remember the exact number. There's like something near 100 of cars that were not in the previous motorsports.
Okay.
That's and a lot of cars that came into the game are race cars. We want to put a big emphasis on race cars. Those are cars that are new to motorsport and new to Forza in general. There's a ton of new cars. I mean, that's the whole thing about trying to build a racing platform. There's new cars coming out all the time. We're going to be adding new tracks, new cars, and they're going to come seamlessly into the career, seamlessly into multiplayer. So as soon as it could be a random week and all of a sudden there's new cars, tracks, weather conditions, all sorts of things, so that the entire game feels very fresh and new.
Are we ever going to see electric cars in this?
There are electric cars in the game.
There is? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you mention which ones? Or,
you don't remember? It's 500 cars, and the way I tend to play, it's funny because because it's not really about car collecting, it's about the passion you have. Okay. So I've got my own passions that I kind of drive through the game with.
Okay, cool.
I do want to just acknowledge that we're actually here at the Peterson Automotive Museum as we're doing this, and we got a tour right before. And to your point about seeing cars from the past, even the present, some that are from other countries I've never seen before in real life was kind of impressive. Just like, whoa, that's a real thing. You only see it on TV or doing it in a game. But the reason I bring that up is going back to more of just, this is Forza Motorsport, so this is a simulator. So again, the huge racing enthusiasts that are going to go by the cockpit and the wheels and all that stuff, they can make this as hardcore as they want as far as from a realism standpoint. So I'm thinking more of the technical side of this and the physics side of this. So tires, fuel, the weather that you're talking about, all of these things are going to be real factors in the game if you choose it to be from a racing standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, we've had multiplayer races just as we've been, shutting down the build in the last few weeks where, weather rolls in, people are deciding if they want to, chance it on their current tires or they want to pit. There's only 2 laps left. Am I really going to lose enough time? So that kind of pitting strategy comes into place. And it doesn't have to. There's races we switch the weather out. We don't switch the weather out. To your point, you can set your races up how you like when you're in your own private multiplayer, and you can have that work how you like for simulation.
Along those lines, because like you said, I understand it. We set up our own private matches, but like, is there anything in the game where there's like hardcore public, for lack of a better term, public matches where it's not private, so anyone can join, but basically you turn 10, you're setting what the parameters.
You're onto exactly how we're going to be building this thought of building community and building platform. So we need to get enough players in that we can get the stratification of skill and the stratification of desire, that we don't end up fracturing communities into small groups. And so that's the goal. We're going to get a lot of people when this game launches. A lot of people are going to be playing it. They're going to build up skill. They're going to build up the cars that they really want to race. And we can switch races and events on and off. It was just built into the whole game. So new events can be turned on and turned off. We can change the weather on events very, very quickly. So that allows us to change out the rule sets for players and even cohort players who are of a certain skill rating or speed rating into certain events, so that we can really, it's about focusing, right? If everybody kind of makes their own event, then nobody races with each other. Right. So we need to have an event that speaks to the type of player, and we have to have enough players that they all want to come in there and congregate.
So if you have enough players, how long is that going to take for us to play with the players that are from our skill level?
That's going to be the first day. Yeah, you do a few races and you're going to start going into your skill and speed rating very, very quickly. Yeah. So that's immediate.
Yeah, because in the past, sometimes I get overwhelmed with the players. It's too good for like to play online with them, and I just rather play offline, just single player, because of that. So that's why I was asking how long is that going to take and everything. So
to the skills, if you think about how you I guess how you sort a list, right? What you sort by first has the most power. And so by sorting by the safety rating first It allows us to get people in the same matches with people of their same safety. Now, to your point, that may mean you're in a race with someone who's much, much, much faster or much, much, much slower. But I would argue, my experience in multiplayer is it doesn't bother me so much when somebody's faster than me. It bothers me a lot when somebody smacks into me.
Yeah.
So getting that taken care of first, as the community continues to grow, then we can be optimizing around speed. And that's when we'll get to where these two factors really matter, both speed and safety, because you'll end up with very, very partitioned communities that have some real differences.
I'm just thinking as we wrap this up, just thinking more from platform. Obviously, we know it's going to be Xbox Series X. It's going to be on the S, but it is going to be on the PC. And I know you just recently made an announcement, and Gamescom and everything's been going on, so I haven't kept up exactly what the announcements were.
Yeah,
We got to fly around here.
It's all over us.
But on the PC side of it, are there any features or things that basically a PC gamer is going to be able to take advantage of with Forza Motorsport?
Yeah, so first off, this game's launching on Windows Store and Steam at the same
Yeah.
time, so it's launching there, and you're able to cross-play and cross-save across these devices.
Awesome.
So it's great for building a big community.
Yeah.
That's why we do it.
Yeah.
So there's a big community that's playing together. But on top of that, we've really done a big investment in the wheels. So our force feedback wheels, there's more peripherals. We've done a huge investment not only in the physics, which really show themselves even more when you turn assists off and you go to a wheel, but in the wheels themselves and the force feedback and how that feels. Now, on top of that, yes, there's been a lot of features in what you can turn on and off given your spec on your PC. That's one of those areas that PC gamers expect, but it doesn't speak to the hardcore racing community. That's just something as part of PC gaming in general.
Right on. Okay.
2 questions. Steam, you said it's going to be available on Steam. So are we going to also have it on the handheld too, Steam Deck? Is it going to be verified or no?
We're not speaking to that right now.
Okay. And also, I'm a huge fan. Also, ultra wide screen. Because I love the previous Forza. It looks beautiful on ultra wide. So are we going to see that with this one?
Yep, we've got ultra wide screen.
See, you got me. That's it. Now, Dan, just want to say thanks for the interview, man. Can't wait to play the full version very soon.
Let me just say, as we're wrapping up, because you mentioned before how long you've been doing this. I have personally been a fan for years, obviously. I think what you and Turn 10 have done with racing and making it very approachable for novice people on console and now even on PC, it's just a credit to what you've done over the years. So really excited for October to get here. So get more hands on. What we played today was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Really looking forward to it.
I really appreciate it. It was really important to us that we had all of you get a chance to play it and enjoy the game. It's a big deal to me and the team. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
work and practice. Time to race.